Water. It's one of the core building blocks of life, takes up a majority of the Earth's surface, and makes up most of the human body's mass. It's essential for life, and when uncontaminated, has a clear appearance, often with a green or blue tint due to the way it absorbs light. But there's one instance of water found in Alaska that has a very different look to it altogether. SCP-009 is a specimen that appears to resemble standard H2O, with a big difference. It has a bright red tint that persists no matter what is done to it, be it solid, liquid, or gas. Also, unlike regular water, SCP-009 is in a liquid state at temperatures between 0 and -100 degrees Celsius. When above 0 degrees, which is the normal melting point of water, SCP-009 becomes a solid. And when the temperature of the substance drops below -100 degrees Celsius, it vaporizes into a gas. And that's where it becomes most dangerous. That's because SCP-009 isn't just a strangely colored liquid with its freezing and melting points all mixed up. Despite its chemical properties mostly resembling standard H2O, it has a unique and deadly property. It can assimilate any standard water and convert it to more of its own substance. In other words, SCP-009 turns any regular water it comes into contact with into more of itself. And the impact this could have on living beings containing water, including humans, is just what concerns the Foundation the most. And the first encounter with SCP-009 soon proved just how deadly this substance could be. Members of a local Alaskan tribe reported finding the bodies of a group of seal hunters near their village, and there was something very off about them. The Foundation learned of these reports and deployed a team of 3, Agents Hughes, Whitmore, and Cassidy, to investigate. What they found was shocking. The seal hunters' bodies were completely encased in solid red ice. The investigation initially found that they had died from internal bleeding, but later testing indicated the process by which SCP-009 kills is much more complicated. Things were looking bleak enough, but it was when they discovered a nearby cave that the threat level escalated even more. It was a narrow opening, only a meter tall, but inside, they found a body, a young man with a spear gun, frozen like he was trying to crawl away from something. He looked like he had been stabbed, but there was no knife. Instead, the weapon was a spike of red ice growing from his chest. The control agent directing the mission told them to proceed into the cave, ready to fire in the event of hostiles, and the team could swear that an unknown shuffling noise could be heard. As they progressed deeper into the cave, they discovered a large chamber filled with red ice, approximately 6 meters in diameter. In the middle was a pool with the red liquid. The team soon realized they weren't alone in the chamber, but they were the only things that were actually alive. Surrounding them was an assortment of local wildlife, and all of them were frozen solid. A fox, seals, a polar bear, even a giant spider, which was likely an unknown occurrence of SCP-3023. A Keter-class threat, where a random object will develop an aggressive and deadly arachnid form. Control ordered the team not to investigate the spider further, and Hughes ordered Cassidy to sweep the perimeter and look for side tunnels as Hughes investigated the pool. It seemed bottomless, with agents comparing its appearance to SCP-354, the blood pool. They retrieved a spear found in the frozen spider to measure the pool's depth, and were surprised that it only appeared to be a meter deep. Just then, Cassidy called out. She had found something. It was another tunnel in the ice, about a meter across, covered in the mysterious red substance. But when the rest of the agents moved to join her, Agent Cassidy was nowhere to be found. She had disappeared, and the only thing the remaining agents could detect was a faint light coming from the tunnel, possibly Cassidy's torch. Everything in the tunnel was wet, the walls and the floor, and about a meter further down was a puddle, and it was red. Hughes wanted to go deeper into the tunnel, but Control made it clear the exploration was over. D-Class personnel would be deployed to continue exploring and to search for the unfortunate Agent Cassidy. The Foundation still didn't know what they had on their hands, but whatever it was dangerous. A D-Class team was deployed, and a sample of the strange ice was found. No reports of Agent Cassidy's fate are available, but extensive testing was done on the strange red liquid. It soon became clear that whatever liquid made contact with it became another instance of SCP-009, including ice, steam, tea, juice, seawater, and even human blood. This conversion can happen in as little as 3 minutes or up to several hours in some cases. But what about assimilating more complex objects, like humans? It was determined that testing on D-Class personnel needed to begin in order to understand the process that led to the hunters being frozen solid. Initial exposure begins with the sample of SCP-009 assimilating any moisture present on the exposure area. This can include sweat or any other liquid on human skin. At this point, SCP-009 doesn't seem to pose any threat, and the subject reports that it feels slightly warm on the skin. That changes quickly in Phase 2. As the surface conversion begins, frost starts to form on the exposed area, and the natural heat raises the substance's temperature above 0 degrees Celsius. This can take only a minute or several hours, but once it begins, the process is irreversible. This is also when the process becomes painful for the subject, as red ice crystals start to emerge from the skin, which is a prelude to deep tissue conversion. Stage 3 starts as the temperature of SCP-009 increases rapidly and the conversion speeds up. Ice crystals form quickly, which actually prevent massive blood loss and keep the subject from dying quickly, with some staying alive for many hours. Data for end-stage conversion is currently restricted, and after the results were examined further, testing on D-Class personnel was suspended. But that wasn't the end of all SCP-009 testing. Tests were performed involving fusing the substance with liquid nitrogen, and potential for its use in cold fusion were explored, but both were ultimately suspended due to the risks. More worrying are the reports of a test using SCP-107, which were found due to a convenient shift from the dimension-hopping specimen SCP-507. While not performed in this reality, we now have an indication of how SCP-009 would interact with 107, a turtle shell that can generate rain when exposed to any liquid. When exposed to SCP-009, it caused a red snow-like substance to fall in the test area for 27 minutes, which affected any organic matter that was exposed. All grass and other plants in the area turned red, and the entire area was frozen solid. Other mutations emerged, such as large tentacles that generated tiny beads of SCP-009. This indicates that the plant wasn't just infected, but converted into a form that would spread SCP-009 independently. Whether this same result would be replicated in our universe is unknown, and it is probably for the best that it remains so. But regardless, it was becoming clear that SCP-009 posed an existential threat. Because the red ice could assimilate any moisture it touched, and it was deadly to any living being that it made contact with, the safety of the water supply on Earth depended on keeping SCP-009 isolated. Its initial location in the Alaskan cave was remote enough that Foundation scientists believed there had been no contamination outside this area, but tests indicated that once exposed to a foreign object, it would convert it fully and never stop, which meant even one drop of SCP-009 in the ocean could render virtually all salt water on Earth deadly. Many agents in the Foundation argued for reclassifying SCP-009 as Keter, but it was determined that it was manageable to contain, and the site where it was found became one of the SCP Foundation's most closely guarded bases. The source of SCP-009 is kept in a sealed storage tank of heat-resistant alloy metal at least 2 meters on each side. It is imperative to make sure that SCP-009 is never exposed to temperatures above 0 degrees Celsius, and any water-based compounds are prohibited within 30 meters of the containment area. The area is surrounded by temperature sensors with monitors, and the refrigeration system keeping SCP-009 in a solid state is given at least 2 backups at all times. At even the slightest sign of trouble, the Foundation springs into action. If the temperature fluctuates significantly, the chamber is immediately locked down and pumped with coolant until it's secure. Once testing resumes, the containment area is placed under a total vacuum, and anyone involved in the test must wear secure protective gear. All material exposed to the substance undergoes dehydration and is quarantined for at least 12 hours. Any subjects showing signs of conversion are permanently kept in the containment area. It is important to note that once conversion of organic material begins, it is irreversible, and any contaminated organisms are to be terminated and dehydrated for future study. SCP-009 resembles water in every way except its color, but functions as a contagion hostile to human life. It doesn't seem to occur anywhere else on Earth but in that pool in Alaska, but the Foundation will be quick to contain any other occurrences located around the world should they emerge. No research has drawn any concrete evidence of SCP-009's origins, be they man-made or natural, which has led some in the Foundation's Xenospatial Physics Department to speculate that it may have come from another world, one where this is the natural form of water. If it is an incursion from another world, the way SCP-009 interacts with organic matter indicates there's a good chance anything from that world would pose an existential threat to our own. Research is continuing, but under a controlled environment with minimal chance of exposure. No answers have been found on reversing the contamination process, which means the focus is on ensuring zero spread of the specimen, especially to any larger bodies of water where it could spread uncontrolled. Scientists believe that the spread of SCP-009 could be an extinction-level event, but for now, it is safely contained at its site in Alaska, frozen solid, along with the unfortunate specimens trapped with it forever.